one cycle and the beginning of another as you've set this up in your reality to utilize however you wish. So it's kind of all about the idea of cycles and resetting and going back to zero and understanding that even though the cycles may seem to just be this, they're actually this, a spiral. And that you spiral and spiral and spiral upward. When you look at the cycle multidimensionally, it's not just a flat ring. It's not just a flat circle. It's a dimensional spiral. Do you understand?
Yes.
And so you can use it as a sense of upliftment, a sense of progress, and a sense of a new beginning.
I know you mentioned last night that the astrology is a permission slip.
Everything is.
There's a lot of emphasis right now, astrologically, on the fact that what's happening astrologically is a good time for us to release the past and all the negative and look forward to
Yes, but that's a reflection in an astrologically framed permission slip of what's going on in your consciousness already. It's not the astrology telling you this is a good time. It's the astrology reflecting to you that you've already decided this is a good time.
That's a good comment. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Remember, it's a mirror. Permission slips are mirrors. They don't instigate your expression. They reflect your expression.
Great, great. I do not have any conscious recollection of my communication with my hybrid children.
All right.
And my question is, am I communicating with them?
From time to time, not necessarily that often because you don't need to, but from time to time you check in and they check in. Yes.
When you first introduced me to that, I did regularly connect, and then
Yes.
over time, and so I figure by now they're probably, do they also age in their?
Well, yes, but not quite in the same way that humans do.
Okay. And the last thing is, there was something on Facebook recently related to vibrational frequency, and the comment was that the vibration of light is the highest vibration
in your reality.
And water is second. Is that true? That was the comment.
Well, yes and no. It depends on the form of the water, because there are other forms that are representative of very high frequencies, such as crystals as well.
Okay. There's so much water in us personally.
Yes, it carries high frequencies. If that's what is meant, then yes, it's conducive to the idea of carrying and holding on to and patterning high frequencies, but that doesn't mean that the water itself is operating at a high frequency.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your
Does that help?
Yes, thank you for your communication.
All right. Thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
It's so nice to talk with you again.
And you as well.
And I'd like to express my deepest appreciation for the message you gave us last night.
All right.
About your commentary and suggestions for our political situations.
And let me remind you that I also said that what we did was a litmus test.
Yes, right. I do remember that.
All right. Moving on.
Yes. And when you told us to vote,
yes,
I said yes.
Yes.
Because the general political situations in Japan is not so much different from that one in the US.
We understand, but we told you to vote because it's important that each of you have a voice and that you speak it. More than the idea of what that means to all of you politically, we are encouraging you to understand it's time to speak your truth in a way that is not just private, but public. And that's one way your society has of expressing the idea. So what we are actually saying, underlying the political format, is it's time to speak your truth publicly. Everyone.
Yeah.
Because that's what we read as the ripples that spread out from the rock we dropped in your pond with that particular transmission. Is, are you going to ride the waves? Are you going to not? This gives us a reading to let us know where your world is at with respect to the idea of open contact. And I will give you a little bit of a preview of things to come.
Okay.
In the near future, there will be a transmission from what is called, perhaps best translating into your language, the speaker for the Interstellar Alliance, who will deliver a message to you about what is going on our end with respect to what's happening on your end. That transmission will be coming up in the near future, but it ties in completely with what it is we did last night of your time in creating a resonance, in creating a ripple that is being read by billions of beings out here to see what you are and are not ready for. So, that being said, please proceed.
Okay. Well, that was actually my first question, but okay. You told us 3 years ago, you suggested to us that we would send the president of the United States postcards that said, "You for disclosure by 2020 will get your people's vote."
Yes.
And even though I'm Japanese, I did that.
Yeah, all right. Are you still doing it?
No.
Why not? I never said to stop.
Yeah, right. I know that too, because that was not my highest expectation.
Oh, all right. That's a good reason.
Yeah. Yeah, right. And so about going to vote, I seldom go to vote because that is not my highest excitement to act on.
I understand what you're saying, but in this case, is it your highest excitement to be yourself?
Yes, that's right.
And so in this case, at this particular pivot point, it's crucial to allow yourself some version of that expression if you want to act as if you are engaged in the direction that the parallel reality you prefer in terms of its manifestation. So it's up to you to find in your imagination a way to allow it to be exciting for you, even temporarily, because this is a crucial pivot point in your history.
Yes.
And if that's not exciting, that's fine. But you may not necessarily then wind up in the parallel version of Earth that you really prefer if you don't allow yourself to engage in this moment with an opportunity to navigate yourself through that simple mechanism of speaking your truth to the idea of more acceleration in the manifestation of the reality that you prefer. It's very important at this time.
Yeah, right. So I will think about expressing my voice publicly, what it means to express my voice in public. Maybe
there are many ways to
inwardly.
quote unquote vote.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, and
does that help?
Yes, very much.
All right.
And I'm going to ask about the crystal skulls too. Again.
All right. What about them?
I'm thinking of looking for one of the crystal skulls.
Go right ahead. I'm not stopping you.
Yeah, right. So I
already told you where you could find one of them.
Yeah, right.
In the northeastern United States or Canada, called Sequoia.
Well, I will go to the place which is much closer to where I live.
So that would be either Tibet or Thailand?
Yes, that's right.
All right. Are you going for Shan or Tet?
Tet.
Oh, all right. You're going to Thailand.
Yes, right. And could you spell out the name of the temples?
Angkor Wat.
What? Yeah, I couldn't find that in Google.
You can't find Angkor Wat?
It's not. It's different from Angkor Wat in Cambodia, I guess.
But this is the general area.
Okay, so it's
we are only referring to the general area, not necessarily the specific country.
All right.
Because the skull moves around.
What do you mean by skull moving around? You mean...
Either a person can carry it from one country to another, or the skull itself can transport itself from one area to another.
Yeah.
It is connected to the temple of Angkor Wat, as you say. But at the moment that we answered your question in the private session, it happened to be in Thailand.
I see. That's what you meant.
Yes.
Okay. So
we are telling you where the skull is, not where it was. But we told you that it was in Angkor Wat and was connected to that temple.
I see. So maybe it moved from Cambodia to Thailand.
Yes,
Okay.
at that moment.
I
Who
got
knows where it is now?
it. Well, I will just go to the general area around the Angkor
Yes.
Wat. I'll walk around.
Follow your excitement, follow your passion, think and include the vibration of the idea of the skull within it, and it will call to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
And you told us about the high priest in Atlantean times,
Yes.
who was very revered, and I want to ask about that individual.
No, not at this time.
Okay, I was thinking that you would say no.
You are so psyched. I am glad to produce the result that you created in your mind.
Yeah, that's right. Can I ask the archetypal energy that represents archetypal energy and energy of Kukumat's skull?
The archetypal energy of Kukumats.
Yes.
Well, it has to do with the idea of extra-dimensional beings that you refer to as dragons.
Okay.
So it's ancient wisdom, ancient power, ancient insight, ancient knowledge. Yes?
Yes.
It is also connected to the concept of comets, the messengers that deliver things from one place to another.
Okay.
And cause cycles to begin and end on many planets, and seed other planets with life.
Wow. That sounds really, really primal or very significant.
Yes, it's called panspermia. The spreading of different genetic material from planet to planet through comets and asteroids. But the idea of the comet is associated, because of its fiery tail, so to speak, with the concept of the dragon as well. And they were often called dragons of the sky. It is also why many people feel, in a sense, kind of a foreboding omen when they see a comet and associate the idea of omens in the negative sense with it, because they know from past history that many comets have been responsible for wiping out certain cultures and civilizations on your planet, such as Atlantis. And that's why you have kind of this, well, I'll just put it as a love-hate relationship with the concept of dragons.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, does that help?
Yes, that does help.
All right. Will that do?
Well, I have another question.
Of course you do.
Yes, you know that.
But let this be the last.
As you know, I'm a psychotherapist.
Yes.
And I want to ask about the. First, I want to make a statement. I really appreciate it when you explained the mechanism of schizophrenia.
Yes.
You explained that in terms of coherence.
Yes, or decoherence.
Yeah, right. And could you explain from your point of view what's the difference between schizophrenia and the so-called multiple personality disorder? It's not a disorder.
More personalities are involved.
Is that it?
It's more the idea of the schizophrenic experience has more to do with the idea of multiple realities that are decoherent as whole reality perceptions, whereas multiple personality, as you used to call it, has to do more with the integration or decoherence of the different aspects of your personality individually.
Yeah, so
one is more key to the idea of the reality experience, and one is more key to the idea of the personal experience of integration.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Oh, well, then you didn't need to ask.
I thought I would get your confirmation.
Oh, all right. Now you have it. So that was your last question.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Bashar.
こんばんは、バチャー。
こんばんは。
I'm so
お元気ですか？
元気です。ありがとうございます。
はい。
I'm so excited to talk to you for the first time.
お、ワクワク。
ワクワク。oh my gosh. So, I'm from Japan.
I couldn't tell.
Oh, that's why I told you.
Thank you.
So my group always talk about Japan, especially after you appeared on TV last year.
Yes.
Very popular.
Oh, all right, if you say so.
Yes. And I want to ask about Japan. So we got a new emperor last month.
How exciting for you.
Yes. But I live in the States, so I'm not quite sure what's going to be, what's going to happen in the future.
Well,
so
of course.
I want to hear your perspectives about it.
Again, remember, the idea is that if you simply follow the formula of acting on your passion to the best you can, no insistence on the outcome, and remain in a positive state no matter what happens, you will ultimately wind up on the version of Earth that is more reflective of who you prefer to be. So it doesn't really matter in the sense to ask, well, what will happen? Because what version of Earth are you talking about? The one that you prefer or the one that you don't, or many in between? So it's really just up to you to ultimately experience what you wish to experience. Let the symbolic representations appear on their own that are representative of the state of being and the state of the reality that you've created. You don't have to worry the pieces into place.
I'm not worried. I just want to hear your perspectives.
I just gave it to you.
Thank you.
And when we use that term in this context, worry, it doesn't mean negative worry in the way that you typically mean it. It means to start manipulating things into position. It's
Okay.
an English slang.
Yeah?
Yes? It doesn't mean worry in the classical sense.
Mm-hmm.
It means that when you worry something, you are sort of manipulating it with a certain intention into a particular position.
Yeah.
So you don't need to do that.
Okay.
Just follow your passion.
Okay.
Yes?
I'll do that. I'm
All
doing
right.
it already.
Well, then keep doing it.
Yes. So another question about environmental issues. This is
Yes.
a question from a friend of mine.
Yes.
So would there be a technology or some sort to make clean water available to everyone in the world in the future?
Yes, of course. You have the technology now, you're just not using it.
Oh, what kind of technology is it?
You have many different kinds of filtering technologies. You also have the beginnings of technologies that will create certain kinds of vibrations in water that will separate out the toxins from the pure water. You have many different technologies coming up. So yes, of course, you already have the technology. In this particular case, it's not about having to invent the technology, it's about using it on a larger scale, but it's not being done by a lot of places because, again, of borders and politics and sociological limitations and belief systems and so on and so forth. So you have it. Just use it.
Okay, so it already exists.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
And others can be invented, but you already have enough to do it. You just have to do it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Well, you're so welcome.
Thank you.
Good day, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I have a sort of a mystery that I want to pose.
Oh, how exciting. We love mysteries.
Excellent. I have followed my highest desire in many ways,
In
but
many ways, but not all.
not all.
All right.
And I'm just now becoming conscious of taking responsibility fully for everything that I've created. But
Doesn't
there's-
always mean that someone else isn't involved in a co-creation, but taking responsibility for your part is the point.
That's it.
All right.
But this feeling that I struggle with,
Which is what?
animosity,
Animosity. Towards what?
not manifesting, not experiencing my preference.
Which would be what?
The things I was pursuing at the time.
So you have a particular insistence and
Yes.
condition that things are not going the way they should if you don't see it in a certain way?
No.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that I had an expectation.
That's what I said. You have an insistence.
Okay.
So you're not following the formula.
So what do I do?
Follow the formula.
Okay. And that means
Because if you understand why the formula says no insistence, no assumption, you have to put no condition on the outcome and remain in a positive state no matter what manifests, even if what manifests is something that you neutrally, objectively don't prefer. You have to stay in the state that allows you to know it must have manifested for a reason that does serve you. If you constantly label it as something having gone wrong, something that doesn't belong, you will only experience the negative side of it, and some of that can come out as animosity toward yourself, thinking that you're failing, doing something wrong, you're not living up to your promise, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you're not deserving. And that's what creates the idea of the animosity. But you have to pay attention to the way that the formula is actually structured. This is why we give it to you in the form of an instruction manual. If you were to be given an instruction manual to operate a piece of machinery, would you just toss it out and try it yourself and perhaps injure yourself? Or would you say, all right, now wait a minute, I was given this instruction manual for a particular reason so that the machine will operate to my advantage instead of my disadvantage? Would you just toss it away? No. So the idea is, listen carefully to the instruction manual. You act on your highest passion every moment that you can, to the best of your ability, taking it as far as you can till you can take it no further, and then you follow the next thing that contains more passion, more excitement, even just the tiniest bit, more than any other option at that moment, and you keep doing that with zero insistence, zero assumption as to what the outcome is supposed to be. And then you remain in a positive state so that you can extract the benefit from whatever does manifest as a result of the action. You have to just understand that the reason the instruction is designed that way is because you're thinking that you know what the best outcome ought to actually be. And the truth is, you don't have a clue.
Right.
None of you do. So you have to understand that insistence on a particular outcome is actually a limitation that you're placing upon what could be given to you that might be better than you imagined. But it will definitely sometimes be different than you imagined, because the higher mind might be saying, this has to manifest first so that we see that if you can learn to use it in a positive way, then you are capable of using what we're going to give you next. But if you keep invalidating what you're getting, that only tells the higher mind you don't know how to use what you're given in a positive way. So why should you be given anything else until you figure that out? Because that's what's going to help you manifest the reality you prefer, is to use whatever does manifest in the way you prefer, because it's not about what happens. It's not about what happens. It's not about what happens. It's about what you do with what happens that makes the difference. Because everything can serve double duty. It doesn't matter how it looks. It can still give you a positive effect in your life, a beneficial effect. It doesn't matter how it looks. What you put into it is what you get out of it. That's the law. So it's about really understanding that part of the formula, that part of the instruction manual, and actually following it precisely, not haphazardly, not some of the time, all the time, in order to experience what it is you're looking to experience as an experience, as a state of being. It doesn't matter how the manifestation looks, as long as you are experiencing the state of being you prefer to be in. Because again, please remember, the true mark and measure of change is not whether the outside reflection changes. The true measure of change is when you decide what state you're going to be in, regardless of how the outside looks. That means you've actually changed. Because if you're still making your state of being conditional on the idea that the outside has to look a certain way, then you are still making it conditional, and that means you haven't changed. So why should the outside change?
Yeah, I understand.
Is this making some sense?
It is.
Does it help lower the animosity?
Yes, considerably.
All right. So that is a clue that the way to do that and to create the state you prefer is follow the instruction manual to the letter. Yes?
Yes.
Is this helping?
It is.
All right. Something
So,
else?
when this feeling comes up, just redefine it.
Stay with it.
Stay with it.
Stay with it. And that is the most important thing that needs to be happening in your life at that moment. That's why it came up, because there's no accidents. It's saying, hey, there's a negative belief system here in your unconscious mind that is out of alignment with who you prefer to be. So the animosity is the emotion that brings your attention to it. So say, thank you, animosity, for bringing my attention to something I need to pay attention to. Now I have something to work with, because now that I have that feeling, and because I understand how reality works, and I know that I could not possibly have any kind of an emotion at all unless I believe something to be true, because that's how reality works, I can now ask the question, what would I have to believe is true in order to be feeling animosity? What belief would generate that? What belief do I have about myself in this circumstance that generates that feeling? Because I know that all feelings come from what I believe to be true, and no feeling can exist in a vacuum. Because I understand how things work. It's all about understanding. Here is something very important to understand, and thank you for giving us an opportunity to bring this up. Many times when we explain the idea of the structure of existence and how things work, we get the question, all right, now what do I do beyond that? What's the next step? What's the process in order to allow that to happen? What we are attempting to get across to you is that all you need to do is understand it. And that's enough of a process. That's all the process you actually need, is actually understanding what we're saying. That is a description of how reality works. Now, if you want to create other processes, sometimes you may need other processes. Sometimes you have a belief system that says, I won't really get this unless I go through this process, and that's all fine. But all we're actually saying is, in many cases, it's not about needing another process or another permission slip in order to get what we're describing. Understanding it is the process, and that's all it takes to experience the result of that understanding. Does that make sense?
It does.
All right. Is this helping?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for raising this issue.
Thank you. Will that lead to the reality that I desire?
You're still doing it.
I know.
Let me put it this way, though, since you mentioned it in that framework. It will lead to the state of being you desire. Who cares what the reality looks like if you're always happy?
Yes, sir.
Make sense?
Yes.
Now, when you are always happy, it may increase the probability sometimes of it manifesting in the way you might have imagined it, but never insist that it must. That's where you shut the doors.
Got it.
Got it?
Got it.
It's about state of being. Mm-hmm. That's it. Let the reflections and the symbols of the state of being come to you in whatever form they need to, because again, as we said, sometimes they will even come in the form of something you don't prefer. Yes. But if that happens, that means it's there for a reason. You just need to learn to use what you don't prefer in a way that you do, and then you will use up the manifestation of what you didn't prefer in a positive and constructive way, and then you will make room for something else to come in, and your reality will accelerate because you're using up what you're given. When you refuse to believe it has anything to do with the reality you prefer, you're letting it stay there and fill up space and making no room for anything else to come in, and everything slows down. Use it up, and something else will come in, because as you all know, nature abhors a vacuum. So as soon as you use it up, bang, something else comes in. Use it up, bang, something else comes in. Bang, 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 it accelerates. The more willing you are to use what you're given in the positive way that you can, the more something else will be given to you that you can also use in a positive way. And it doesn't matter how it looks, because you don't care how it looks, because you can use anything that manifests in your life in the best possible way to be of service to you. And you have to know that you can do that in order to experience that that's true. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. We do so love working with you humans.